ES Audio.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Travers, and this is the Evening Standard's Tech and Science Daily. Coming up, the science behind why we love chocolate. Now, let's get into it. The European Space Agency believe new images of a specific region in space could give insight into how stars and even planets were formed billions of years ago.
So the idea here is that by studying NGC 346, for instance, in the nearby neighbourhood, we get a real insight into the properties of stars and potential planet formation at this very early epoch.
Chris Evans is the ESA project scientist for the James Webb Space Telescope. He told us they're using new high-detail pictures taken by the JWST to examine a region in space called NGC 346, which has conditions similar to that of the period of time known as cosmic noon.
We get to this period about 3 billion years after the Big Bang. That's kind of the most active time in the universe's history of lots of star formation. All of these galaxies are really kicking off. They're forming these big groups together. But we know that the conditions then are very different to what we see in our own universe now in the solar neighbourhood.
They're exploring the various gases in the region, but also the space dust that exists there. Chris explained why that dust is so critical for the creation of stars and galaxies.
As these stars are forming, the gas comes together, it starts warming up. Very quickly, they could get so hot that they stop accreting material, but this dust helps them cool down so that they can keep kind of assembling into bigger stars. And so this dust is a really vital ingredient in the formation of planetary systems and in actually forming these stars themselves.
The science behind why we love eating chocolate so much has been revealed, and it goes way beyond taste. Researchers from the University of Leeds analysed the physical process that takes place in the mouth when a piece of chocolate is eaten, and they found that where the fat lies helps to make the texture so appealing. Almost as soon as chocolate comes into contact with the tongue, fat plays a key role, making it feel smooth. After that, solid cocoa particles are released and they provide the tactile sensation. The findings show that fat deeper inside the chocolate plays a limited role, so could potentially be reduced without affecting how it's enjoyed. So are we one step closer to a healthy chocolate? Watch this space. It's hoped Europe's biggest ever discovery of rare metals used to make things like phones and cars could limit the Chinese and Russian dominance in the sector. Swedish mining company LKAB said it found more than 1 million tonnes of the resources used to make smartphones, electric vehicles, wind turbines and speakers in the nation's Arctic region. Rare earth elements have not been mined in Europe before, making the continent dependent on imports from elsewhere. Now, a study has found that dolphins shout over loud underwater noise in order to work together.
In this experiment, we found that the dolphins would increase the volume of their calls, and they would also increase the duration of their calls in order to make themselves heard. However, despite the fact that they use these compensatory mechanisms, they are still less successful in performing this cooperative task.
First author Pernilla Sorensen there, a scientist from the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Bristol. For dolphins, being able to cooperate and communicate efficiently is important for their species to survive, as they rely on whistles and echolocation, which is when they use sound waves that reflect back off objects.
In the wild, we know that dolphins perform cooperative foraging, where they will help each other out, increasing their foraging efficiency. We also know they perform different kinds of social behavior, such as for mating and for showing the affiliation and their bond strength between each other.
Although the research was conducted with dolphins living in human care, studies suggest human-generated noise could also have detrimental effects on ones in the wild.
Our study here really highlights that we need to account for how noise impairs animals working together in the wild. So noise comes from shipping, it comes from pile driving when we put up wind farms or oil platforms, and it comes from military sonars and seismic activities. So there's a lot going on and there's a lot of noise being exposed to these animals.
The findings are published in the Current Biology journal. We finally got an answer as to what went wrong with the Virgin Orbit rocket. The company says the first space launch from the UK failed because of a premature shutdown in the rocket that prevented Launcher 1 from reaching orbit. But the opening phase went off apparently without a hitch. There are plans for another attempt later on this year. Let's go to the ads. Coming up, smart appliances could let you down in just 2 years, and how would you fancy unlimited leave from work? Why not hit rate and follow in the meantime? Welcome back. Smart appliances such as washing machines and TVs could be at risk of losing functionality after just 2 years because manufacturers are not providing vital updates. The research by Consumer Group Which also found that items including dishwashers and inkjet printers, which might be expected to last more than a decade, could quickly stop working or pose hacking risks. They say that hardly any brands even came close to matching their expected lifespan with their smart update policies, while others failed to respond when asked to clarify the length of support. Apple boss Tim Cook is going to take a pay cut of over 40% this year. The company says its chief executive requested the reduction after criticisms from shareholders. The tech giant shares fell sharply last year after supply chain issues and a global economic slowdown. We're sure Tim will be okay though. Apple's compensation committee awarded him a total target compensation of $49 million for 2023. And finally, how does unlimited days leave sound to you? Well, that's exactly what salaried employees at Microsoft are getting in the US. From Monday, it's changing its holiday policy and introducing what is called discretionary time off, or DTO. The tech giant said that how, when, and where employees do their jobs has dramatically changed, and DTO aligns with more flexible ways of working. Nice for some, I guess. You're up to date. Come back at 4 p.m. for the Leader podcast from the Evening Standard. We'll be back on Monday at 1 p.m. See you then.